try very hard to gently hide it every time you step inside, and you look so unsure as you walk me to the door. But you see, you've got to me, and I'm only wanting more. My heart beats again whenever I'm happy. Are you happy too? My heart beats for you whenever I'm happy. Are you happy too? When the world is spinning and you're lost in a dream, there's no reason to stop when you can feel your heart beat again whenever you're happy. Are you happy too? Where can I place the blame? Tell me who put me in the frame. It's not fair. Don't you dare. Oh, and I'm losing my head in this, but I'm loving every minute of it. What a shame it'd be to never see the one thing that you really need. My heart beats again whenever I'm happy. Are you happy too? My heart beats for you whenever I'm happy. Are you happy too? Oh, my heart beats again whenever I'm happy. Are you happy?
All right. Can't start a show without pretty pictures, so now we're done. All right, we're gonna jump right in. First of all, I wanna tell a little bit about myself. I know a lot of you know me already, and I know a lot of people have been watching the rewatch, so of course, I can't imagine they're not sick of me by now, but I'm gonna power away at it again. But my name is Sandy Puc. I'm from Littleton, Colorado. I've been living there about 20 years. I went there 20 years ago. I moved there and started to build my business. Now, a little bit about myself deeply. Anybody who knows me knows that I border crazy, manic, insane. I'm pretty sure if I didn't have this job, I would be heavily medicated, and I'm very sincere about that. I probably work at a level and exist at a level that would make most people crazy. I'm very, very outgoing, very energetic, very passionate, and very driven, but almost in a crazy way. I just have to get out there. And I've definitely always been the odd man out. I've definitely always been the not normal one. I think I found myself, when I was young, I was extremely introverted, so shy that you couldn't even imagine, and terrified. And even to this day, I'm extremely introverted. Most people think of me as very coy or standoffish, and the reality is I'm so nervous about certain things. Things that don't bother me are speaking in front of hundreds of people, teaching anything that I love. Thousands of people doesn't bother me, but one-on-one, I get so nervous that you'll see I kind of pull back a little bit. So if you ever see that, it's not that I'm standoffish, it's actually quite the opposite, but definitely always stood out. I was always the odd child that had to have, I think a lot, when I was younger, it was the emotional attention. I was always doing really dramatic stuff. Like one time I got a sliver in my eye, and had to go to the doctor and go through the process of getting it out. And of course the doctor turned, and I was really young, and he turned to me and he said, you know, if in 3 or 4 days, if it's still red or swollen, you need to come back and have it checked. So I had all this amazing attention with the patch and everything for a few days. And of course, a few days later, the patch comes off and I lose the attention. So I realized about 4 or 5 days I've lost the attention. So about the 5th day, I'm downstairs putting dirt in my eye, trying to get a sliver again so that I can go back to the doctor. So, I mean, that's what I'm saying, like over the top, you know, trying to find, you know, trying to make my mark. As I grew, you know, I got into the, I was in the 80s. So of course, as I became a teenager, it became the whole punk, shave your head, you know, total chaos, running around town. I was definitely the odd man out there, and always sort of stood out. Eventually, I sort of tapered myself and realized that I didn't need that kind of, I haven't quite got out of the 80s black thing. I'm working on it, but I got rid of the black lipstick, so I'm doing pretty good. But and I toned the hair down a little bit, but you know, I've always had sort of that, I think that personality is based on keeping people out because of those fears. So it's really something that I've never ever fit in. But as you grow, everybody knows you go through these stages in your life, and the fears and paranoia of high school and elementary school, and then the 20s where you're trying to find yourself, and then the 30s where you sort of get a grip on what you want, but you're still worried about what other people think. And then, yes, I'm officially in the 40s now, and it's interesting that now it doesn't really matter what people think. It's not that I want to offend people or I don't care, it's just that you really start to wrap your head around the fact that it's okay, that everything you do is okay. So I've definitely had a great journey. Several things I know about me: I cannot be everyone. Just like you, I get overwhelmed with this industry and all the things you could be doing and should be doing and all these amazing, and I said this last time, all these things that, these photographers who are creating this breathtaking work. The reality is I photograph babies and children, and it's not amazing, and it's not, I get a few images that I consider strong images, but my day-to-day work is pretty average. I think I'm a good shooter. I have strong techniques, but I think overall, as far as magic and amazement, I am really good at consistency and creating sellable work. I make my money by producing what I know the clients will purchase. Do I love being artistic? Absolutely. Do I consider myself artistic? Absolutely. But I'm also very formulated. Some people get upset because they don't want to be in a box, but I'm pretty consistent with, it doesn't matter how many 6-month-olds you shoot, there are a couple shots that are going to sell every time, so why not go for it? Because the mom's going to buy it, and then if things work out and you can go to that next creative level, then great. But if the baby crashes and everything's over, I got the shots. And that's kind of my theory when I teach is, it's a method. Let's get in and do the job, and then if there's time and if the situation allows, let's become creative. Because I watch photographers go through this whole frustration of having these visions and jumping in and, okay, let's put you over here, and then, okay, let's run over here, and by the time they get through 3 or 4 things, the kids are falling apart, and it's just, they're exhausted, and they're, they've sort of lost that momentum, where you'll see when I shoot, especially tomorrow and the next day, I'll go in and very quickly get what I need. I'll have an entire sellable series within less than 10 minutes. I can get in there and make that happen. And then after that, I step back and go, okay, I got what I need. Now what can we do that's different? How can I make this unique? And I think that we do achieve that. But it's so much less stressful the way we do it, because I just don't feel like I exhaust myself before I get to that point. So I'm hoping to share a little bit of that. Definitely can't keep up with everyone. It's impossible. I have my own little unique world, and at one point in this industry, I had to step back and say, yeah, I may never create these majestic, landscapes with people, but I watch clients every day emotionally connect to what I do, and so to me that's very worth it. I am not going to go downhill this fast, I promise you. I can feel it already. Just keep reminding me your sons are okay, you didn't leave them in Asia, okay? I can only be responsible for my actions. I mean, the things that I do, I have to be accountable for. Everybody makes mistakes. We've all gone, on our journey, and it's just something that, ooh, dang it, we're going down fast. Wheels on the bus go round and round. But truly, I can only be responsible for my actions, and I can only, really pursue finding what's best for me. And truly, laughter is the best medicine. That's the one thing you'll find out about me, is everything is funny to me. Everything. I mean, it doesn't matter how bad it is, broken arm, it's just funny to me because, I said this last time, but, unless you're dead, it's okay, honestly. And so for me, it's just make a game out of it. Those of you who know us and know our traveling schedule, and we probably have the most rigorous travel schedule of anyone in this industry, but every day's a game. We have this, in fact, I'll teach you this game. It's called the Hope Game. Brandon, who you'll meet later, and I learned this on one of our flight tours. Every single thing that could go wrong went wrong. And we just kind of, every time we'd walk in a room, it was wrong. Every time we'd miss flights, just everything went bad. And it was just very daunting. And finally, we made up this game. It's called the Hope Game. And what it is before we go into any situation, we hope for the worst. We go, oh, I hope this room's too small, and I hope there's no air conditioning, and I hope this. Because then we get every wish we ever ask for. So it's awesome. Like, we are the most blessed people in the world because we get everything we want. So, and if it doesn't happen, it works out good too. So we walk into it with that attitude of, you know what, if it happens, we know it's going to happen. And if it does, we just laugh it off because we wished for it. So there is something to be said about wishing for the negative, because you know what, you get what you want, and you can consider yourself really lucky. You got everything you want. So really, you're going to see that I laugh a lot. We have a lot of fun. I engage in people. I fall in love with people. You guys are about to be my new lovers, so it is important to have a live audience because you give me that connection. But you know what? Very quickly, I start to feel the virtual audience as well through the communications. And pretty soon, I'll start looking there more than at you. And that's just because I want to reach everybody. And I know that you guys are just reach away here. So, all right. Bottom line is I make a fool of myself all of the time. I will do anything. I will try anything. I am super, you know, if it's jump off of it, dive into it. My biggest fear is sharks. So I had a little moment in Thailand recently. We were swimming, or no, Philippines, we were swimming, and there was shark nets out in the water, way far out there, and I'm terrified of sharks. The only thing I'm afraid of in the world is sharks, and so I don't even go in water very often, but the boys wanted to, so went in a little bit, swam, snorkeling, amazing. All of a sudden, Nemo was everywhere. We're seeing like live Nemos this big, and barracudas, and so I'm getting braver and braver, and little by little, I'm inching my way out, and finally my son is like, well, let's go out to the shark nets, and so we're swimming out, you know, we're snorkeling out there, we're getting close, and this is, you know, way out there where these big nets are, these big white boys are sitting there, and we get all the way out there, and all of a sudden I get out there and I look at my son and he looks at me and goes, oh Mom, those aren't shark nets, there are no nets there. And we realized those aren't nets, those are just little boys out there. And I am not kidding you, I had this moment of sheer terror. I was literally like, I sucked in half the ocean and I couldn't move because I just was waiting for the shark just to come and eat me because I'm way out in the ocean. So yeah, it was. I was literally paralyzed, and then I was like, okay, backwards, you know. And I'm like, you guys, you know, we back paddled all the way back, but that was my sheer moment of terror where I realized that I had made a mistake, that I had assumed, and I had pushed that limit. So very rarely do I put myself in danger, but I am definitely willing to do anything. I love adventure, and we live very hard. My story, obviously, I started photography when I was 17 years old, and I picked up a camera. I never put it down. I fell passionately and madly in love with photography. Bounced around all over the country for a few years, landed in Colorado 20 years ago, started out of my home, worked out of my home for 6 or 7, 8 years. Eventually opened my first studio. This is my first studio place. It was 2,000 square feet. This is actually year 2 or 3 when we had actually made it a little nicer, but you can see kind of the evolution here. Year 1, I had like commercial carpet and really ugly things. Then I pulled that out and put in the floors. And I'm not a designer by nature, although I'm very proud of my set. I like the colors I picked. But it's not natural for me. I'm not a fluffy, pretty girl. Like I don't get the whole girl thing. I have a hard time with that. And so, you know, this was a lot of trial and error and putting things up and thinking it was pretty, and then 2 years later tearing it all up and making it a little prettier. And that was part of my evolution. This first space was 2,000 square feet. Eventually, within 3 years, when I moved into this space, I was the only employee. It was me and at that time my nanny, Erin, Erin is still with me. Erin's been with me for 17 years. And she worked out of my home, taking care of my kids. When my third was born, he was very sick, and she was there. I had just opened this studio, and she was there for me then, and we just kind of built. Erin is actually my personal image artist. She does all the shows, all the pretty work you see, it's all Erin. So big shout out to Erin. Hi, Erin. So we started this, and quickly I had to hire employees, and we grew very quickly. Marketing, for some reason, is my forte. I have no experience in the sense of education. I did not go to college. In fact, I confessed this last time, but I didn't even go to high school. I dropped out in 9th grade. I was pretty much failing 6th, 7th, and 8th anyway. I just did not understand people and relationships. I had a hard time. It wasn't that I couldn't do the schoolwork. In fact, that stuff came easy for me. It was dealing with people, dealing with teachers, and that goes back to that extreme paranoia about everything. I cared about what everybody thought, and I'd open my mouth and then spend 20 minutes going, why'd you say that? You're so dumb, and, you know, talking myself through it. So I didn't even have a high school education. I consider myself very street smart. I was a little bit of a hellion when I was young, and so I was, you know, doing some crazy things, and I learned people, and I learned communications, and to be safe, I learned how to understand what was really happening, how to listen to somebody and kind of read between the lines and figure out what they really wanted. And that's really where my marketing experience comes from, is really that street experience, taking care of myself, protecting myself, and taking care of the people around me. And so you start to become very wary, but it also opens up the whole sales, understanding people, understanding why people do things, and I sort of built it from there. So as far as education, I don't think education, certainly I don't want children to hear this. It's not that I don't think it's important, but I think that sometimes we get hung up on school and how you learn things, and it's not really about the books as much as it is about the communications that you go through. So when I moved in here, I found that marketing was what I was good at, and very quickly I grew to the point where I had no employees, and then it was 1, and then 2, and then 3, and then 4, and then we were up to 18. We expanded. This studio expanded to 5,000 square feet. We continued to grow. By the time we blew out of that studio, we were up to 32 employees. We had rented another space, so 7,000 square feet, 32 people. And then we, 4 years ago, I purchased the building that we're in. It's just under 11,000 square feet. At that time, there were 32 of us, and now we have scaled all the way back to, I believe, about 15. Now, we have gone an incredible journey. I have gone from a humongous studio making several million a year in photography only to shifting my life and trying to prioritize, and it was kind of nice that you said that today about time, because sometimes in life, you spend so much time pursuing your dream, you don't realize what you're giving up. And so I'm definitely not here to say that I've always had it together and that I've always had all the time in the world. I sacrifice just like you'll have to. I always say that, you know, life isn't about balance, it's about choice and sacrifice. And I built all of this. Now, one of the advantages that I had is that when I opened this studio, I was pregnant with my 4th, and my husband retired to stay home with the kids. We had our 4, I was pregnant with my youngest, and we also were foster parents. We had 6 foster children, all boys, so number 10 was on the way. And so you can imagine with 10 children in the house, opening up a business, he chose to retire, and he has been retired ever since. So we've had that advantage of having a stay-at-home parent. So when I say that I sacrificed a lot, there was always, for us, there was always a parent in the home taking care of the kids. I just had to be out there to pay for things. But when you have the burden of, you know, the responsibility of the income, you work really hard to protect that. So I'm not saying I did it perfectly, but after a while, I definitely started to realize what I did and didn't want. In the last 2 years, I have really refined my business. I've decided how much I want to shoot. It's much less than I used to shoot. How much I want to teach, and how many employees I want to have. That was the hardest thing, is letting people go, because I love people. But I started to realize that in order to refine, I would have to make some big decisions. So later tomorrow, I'll show you a little more about the studio and what we're doing now. But it's been an incredible journey. It's something that I wish I could just show you the video of my life and say, look, don't do any of this. Do your own thing. But hopefully I can share some of those things as we go along. All right, I'm here to show you how I work with children. Children is definitely my forte. I grew up in a very big family, lots of children, tons of cousins. When my grandmother passed away, I had 68 cousins and 113 second cousins. So you can imagine, when I say big family, I mean we had hundreds of kids. And children, I love kids because they're so humble and they're so free. And so I tend to gravitate. That's about where I tend to make it in life, is that level. So it's very easy and very natural for me to understand children. Tomorrow we're going to talk a lot about psychology and working with kids and why it's easy for me to do what I do, and give you all the shortcuts that we have learned over the years. I'm also here to soak in your energy. I mean, you guys are here for me and I'm here for you, and I love having you here, and I love having the virtual audience as well, because it's, you know, through that communication it really is amazing how small the world really is. Obviously, the real reason I am here, these are my 4 biological children. All of my foster children are grown up. They're all having babies, so technically I'm a grandma many times over. I might showcase some of those pictures tomorrow, but it's really neat. A lot of them have stayed close. Some of them, it's funny, in the last 3 months, I've had 4 of my toughest foster children, they were all teenage boys, show up, and they completely disappeared out of my life, and now they're all coming back and saying thank you and showing off their babies, and it's that wonderful circle of closing that gap, so it's kind of cool. But currently I just have these 4, and the 2 oldest are now in college. They're both in the University of Utah, and the youngest 2, 14 and 13, are still at home hanging with me. I still have to note that it's still impossible. How many of you guys struggle photographing your own kids? Anybody here? Yes, thank you. I've always said that I'd rather pull out my own teeth with pliers than photograph my kids, and so it's still the same. No matter how hard I try, it always feels like this. They are just, And I think it's because they're photographers' children. They just hate having their picture taken. So it always kind of feels like this. Eventually we get it to this. This was just a fun little thing. My oldest son is so difficult and hates this so much that I had to sort of blindside him. So I was able to get this, but the reality is, and everybody should know this, this is actually what it took to make that happen. About 3 head swaps, some tummy tucks, some jacket fixes. So it's funny with our own children how over the top we go to fix things and perfect things. I mean, other people's, sessions, we do a nice job, but with our own, we're just so, critical of our own. And I think it's because we know what we want and our children don't want to give it to us. And so nothing comes easy as it should be, I suppose. I do want to thank all of you guys for being here. I think that's, I know this was very late. You guys just barely jumped on and had to get tickets and things. And I know that's an investment. And I know creativeLIVE does such an amazing job making this, making you welcome. So glad to have you here. We do have some awesome sponsors that we'll be talking about throughout the show, many of which have given us some great prizes to give away as too. So I know you guys are going to be loaded up with goodies, and virtual audience as well. They're going to have a lot of great prizes going out. Biggest thank you to my staff. You're going to meet Helen and Brandon tomorrow. Helen has been shooting with me for 10 years. She's incredible. Brandon manages all the tours. He's been through all the chaos. I mean, we pretty much live and die on tour buses and airplanes, and nobody works harder than him, except maybe Erin, who is not here. And she's, of course, I saw her post something on Facebook at 3 a.m. She was still working on this show. So everything you see is definitely Erin's creativity. The images are mine, but she puts it all together and makes it beautiful. So big thank you to all of those. A couple reminders. I always want to say that I don't take credit for what I am. Everything I am is an evolution of hearing or learning from somebody else. Nothing I'm going to teach you is easy. There is no easy button. I cannot tell you that you're not going to have to work or that there's a shortcut. We can simplify things, but you're going to have to put in an effort. Any student that I have that is successful has made those choices. They make it, they make a choice to pursue the things that we're going to teach you work. I mean, these marketing campaigns, these business management techniques, they absolutely work, not just for me. And it's not just for people in big cities or not just for people in rural communities. It works for everybody. It's a matter of refining it to work for you and pursuing it, putting your heart into it. So we're definitely gonna show you how to work really hard. This is one of my favorite quotes because I truly, if I had an hour or two, I would tell you all of the mentors and the amazing people that have affected my life. But all I can say is that I am really grateful for all of their time, because just like you were here, I've sat in audiences and soaked it in and taken notes. And it's something that I would never take credit for anything because I'm sure I saw it somewhere else. So I want to make sure that you understand that. Real quick note, I know that with creativeLIVE, we'd love to have you follow us as well. In fact, we will be giving away things all day as well on Facebook. So if you go to our fan page, for the most part, we're going to do everything on the fan page today. So go there. Not you guys, you stay here. You're getting everything anyway, so it's all good. But please do go there and tell us what you think of the show as we go along. We're going to be giving pretty much most of the things you're seeing in the show today. We're going to be giving those away. Just let us know what you think and what you like. And you'll definitely be one of our winners. We're giving away things all day, every day, including through the rewatches. So those of you will give 3 in the daytime and 3 in the nighttime to make sure that our international friends get treated well as well. This is an all-new show. There are a few things I had to use from last show because I know that half the audience is new. So there are a few of the kid techniques I taught last time that we have to revisit because they are critical to what I do. But 89, or probably 92-point-something% is all brand new material. Unless it's really critical to the success of what we do, I tried to really filter in a lot of good fun stuff. I want to be a complete program. I am going to cram in everything I can in the next 3 days. We do have live shoots tomorrow and live shoots the next day, but every single second I have to give you marketing and business building techniques, I intend to do that. We have a lot of discounts and a lot of giveaways, which we'll talk about throughout the show. Not here to be an infomercial, and I know most of you have seen me on tour. You know that that's a huge hot button for me because I don't like to have to get up and try to sell stuff to you. However, a lot of our SBU students know that I put my heart into what I do, and my goal is to always make it easier for you. So we do have educational materials. Everything I show today is on youcando.com, and so just so you know where it's at and where you can find it, because I know that the chat rooms get busy with the what did she say, where did it go? It's all there. I put it on every slide that something comes up just as a reminder that you can get it because it's, we're trying to simplify things.